Welcome to BuffaloRumblings.com. My name is Matt Warren. The Buffalo Bills get back to work this week after their week-long bye. And the nice part is they get to face the Miami Dolphins, who, well, let's just say it's nice to get a divisional game to come out of the bye and start the second half of their season to kind of really see where they're at. And tonight we're joined by Kevin Nogle from the Phinsider blog, one of our favorite blogs and favorite blog names for the record. Kevin, what's going on with the Dolphins right now? They played on Thursday night, so they get kind of a little extended week too to get ready for the Bills.
They definitely need it after deciding to go ahead and give Cam Wake the rest of the year off. Apparently, you need an Achilles tendon to be a defensive end, so who knew that? It's a good timing for them because a big part of that is wanting to get revenge after what you all did down in Miami. So it's a good time. Let them get a chance to rest after getting blown out by the Patriots. It'll be interesting to see how they come out. Is it going to be what we saw against the Bills and the Jets earlier in the year, or is it going to be what we saw against the Titans and the Texans? It'll be an interesting week. You guys get the advantage of obviously having the bye, so you'll get a little bit of a advantage there. We kind of make up for it by having the Thursday night game. So hopefully it all evens out, and hopefully Miami can undo what you all did in Miami.
Well, we'll talk about the Texans and Titans and the Bills and Jets and all this other stuff in a second. But let's just go back to this picture of Kevin here for a second. Are you? I can't tell. What team do you root for?
Not that one.
Oh, look, there's a Bills helmet. Look at that.
Not that one. Not that one.
Do you ever get sick of the color teal?
No, absolutely not, and it's aqua.
Well, okay. I guess aqua. Whatever. I'm just glad that the Dolphins changed their seat color, so whenever all the fans leave, we don't have to look at the orange seats now. It looks like it is
a lot better looking. A lot better looking in aqua. And you gotta love the man cave. It works out well. Nice decorations. There's a few baseball things that are off screen you can't see, but it's pretty much all Dolphins.
Okay, well, let's get back to those wins that you were talking about. The Dolphins were able to manage wins over. They opened the season with a win over the Washington Redskins, and then their last two wins came against the Titans and Texans. They lost to the Jaguars. They got blown out by the Bills. They lost to the Jets. They got blown out by the Patriots. Is their 3-4 record? It seems weird even saying this, but is their 3-4 record a result of having weak competition on their schedule, or is it like they're a legit team that was able to turn around their fortunes after firing their head coach?
Yes.
Both.
They got lucky with having the bye week followed by the Titans, followed by the Texans. So they did. They came out of that bye week making the coaching change and having the advantage of then playing two teams that clearly are not among the elite, we'll say. I don't believe that there are horrible teams in the NFL. There's obviously teams that are playing badly, and the Texans and the Titans are right there in that group. But I think that the Dolphins did get lucky there. I think that they're more that team than they are the team that lost to the Jaguars, got blown out by the Bills, got blown out by the Jets, got blown out by the Patriots. But that's 4 games versus 3 games that they won, and they only looked good in 2 of those wins. So the evidence is starting to stack up against them being a good team this year. Maybe they can turn it around. Maybe what I'm hoping we will see is that they are more of that Texans-Titans team, and they just ran into the buzzsaw that is the Patriots this year. So we'll see how they respond, and I really think that of every game the Dolphins have played this year, this one against the Bills is going to be the critical one. Are they more the new Dan Campbell team, or are they the Joe Philbin team that just rode an emotional high for 2 weeks?
So explain that to me. You say you want them to be more like the team that faced the Titans and the Texans. What did they do differently in that game, in those 2 games, that they didn't do against the Bills earlier this year or in any of their other games?
I think they cared. I think that's what it came down to. I think that they always say that teams take on the personality of their coach, and Joe Philbin was a great guy. He loved the team. He loves his players. He had no fire. You all saw it. I know everybody that ever played the Dolphins saw it. He was stoic on the sidelines. He just stood there. He never got too high. He never got too low. That can be great. Bill Belichick is great at the give you nothing press conference, never say anything, monotone, and that's what Philbin was. Except Belichick actually could get the most out of his team, even as he did that in front of the media. Philbin, in the locker room, in front of the media, on the sidelines, was the same monotone guy, and I think the team eventually became that flat, never got up for a game type. Dan Campbell comes in there. The team relates to him because he's a former player. He knows what he's trying to do. He's firing them up. He's getting them to be more physical in practice. He's making them go ones-on-ones during practice, so that way it's always competitive. Everything about the team right now is competitive. He's added black practice jerseys for whichever team won practice the week or the day before. So if the offense wins, the next day they're in black just to show to the defense that, hey, we're the top dog right now. So everything he does is about competition, and I think that's what the Dolphins are buying into. Now, again, they ran into the buzzsaw that's the Patriots. Is it they only had 2 weeks of it, and now they're going right back to looking like what they were at the start of the year? Or will they come back out against the Bills fired up, trying to get revenge for the 44-14, trying to get 41-14? I gave you 3 extra points there. Trying to get back to playing like a team that should be in playoff contention. And with the way the AFC is right now, everybody seems to be in playoff contention. So there's capability there, there's ability, and there's talent. It's just a matter of, are they going to buy in?
Is there anything other than fire? Is there anything scheme-wise that is different under this new coaching staff, under the new head coach Dan Campbell, as opposed to the old head coach? We just heard from Mike Mularkey this week when he took over for the Titans, saying that different offensive linemen were going to play. They were going to run some different schemes. They were going to balance out the run-pass mix differently. Is there anything that Dan Campbell is doing differently in that regard than Joe Philbin?
I think the biggest thing, the defense has seen some changes. They've opened up the pass rush more. They've basically told Cam Wake, Olivier Vernon, Ndamukong Suh, Earl Mitchell, all these guys, just go get the quarterback. That's their whole job. They obviously are going to try to stop the run on running downs, but go get the quarterback. And it worked. Cam Wake in 3 games had 7 sacks, 4 of them in 1, then 2, then 1 against the Patriots until he tore his Achilles tendon. So it worked. They were ready to go. They were getting after quarterbacks, and they were having an impact on the game. I think that's the biggest change on defense, is just opening up the aggressiveness. On offense, the change is clear. The Dolphins were passing the ball 73% of the time. It was leading the league. I think it was only percentage points ahead of second place, but then it was like 10 or 15% more than the next team down. So it was this huge amount of times that the Dolphins were throwing the ball. And it was weird because Bill Lazor came from Philadelphia, where he was the quarterback's coach, and saw how the Eagles ran the ball. When he was an offensive coordinator previously in college, he was a running offensive coordinator. And then he got to Miami as offensive coordinator, and all he was doing was throwing the ball. And as it got near the end of Joe Philbin's tenure, you started to realize that it was Philbin just basically overriding it and saying, we're going to throw the ball. And part of that is he came from Green Bay, where Aaron Rodgers throws the ball all the time, and they had success for it. But now that Campbell's in there, he's allowed Bill Lazor to open it back up to, hey, run your offense, do the plays you want to do. And we're starting to see Lamar Miller get some success. We're starting to see the offensive line block better, and we're starting to see the running game setting up the passing game, and I think that's where you're seeing the biggest change for the Dolphins.
That actually leads me right to my next question, so you did a nice job with that.
Thank you.
What's going on with the injury status to Lamar Miller? And say that everybody past Cam Wake. We know Cam Wake's out, but what about the rest of the Dolphins? How healthy are they? Knowing that we're recording this on Tuesday and they haven't actually practiced this week yet on Wednesday.
right now, everybody seems fairly healthy, except obviously Wake. Matt Moore, backup quarterback, so really shouldn't see him much, but he broke his nose a couple weeks ago. He had to have surgery last Friday, so he's probably limited, maybe not practicing yet. He'll be ready to go. Devontae Parker, who hasn't seen a lot of playing time, but should start to see more as the season continues. He left the game early, was carted back to the locker room for a foot injury. When he's had 2 surgeries on the foot, it became a big news story. It sounds like it's more of he tore scar tissue and it was pain. Everybody went precautious and he never came back in the game. After that, it seems like everybody seems to be okay. There's a lot of bangs, bruises, guys limited a little bit, but I think we should be able to come out there with the full team as they stand now without Wake. And obviously, as you can tell, we keep bringing up Wake, so that's the biggest thing for Miami. Lamar Miller, I don't think he'll have an issue. I think he'll be ready to go. What will be interesting is Jay Ajayi, the rookie running back the Dolphins took in the 5th round this year, is eligible to come off of the IR designated to return list this week. Don't know if Miami's going to do it, but it could be an option later in this week. They have to do it by Saturday for him to be able to play Sunday. So later in this week, maybe they activate him, slide him in there. He was initially supposed to be the backup running back, 3rd down back. Jonas Gray has taken that role, but Ajayi looked good in preseason. If he's in football shape and ready to go, you could see him come in, and maybe that gives Lamar Miller a little bit more of a break.
He's actually a guy we were looking at a lot before the Bills traded for LaShawn McCoy. We thought he might be a guy that the Bills might be interested in the draft, so we took a look at him. Ryan Tannehill he made news a couple of weeks ago for having a whole bunch of passes thrown that didn't hit the ground. Was that a fluke? Was that him throwing a whole bunch of short passes a la Trent Edwards, or what was that when he set that NFL record? Right? Was it?
It was 25 straight completions, split between week 6 and week 7. 7 in the first game, and then he went 18 for 19 in the second game. I think they kept him in there. It was obviously a blowout against the Texans, but I think they kept him in there as long as he was perfect. Eventually, Deion Sims dropped a ball, so they pulled him right after that. I don't think it's definitely not just the short ball. He'll throw that intermediate ball. Everybody knows the long ball and Ryan Tannehill don't always get along, but he'll throw the intermediate pass. He'll throw the short pass. He can be very, very accurate. I think the biggest thing was the running game was working and the offensive line was giving him time. And that's something that throughout his career Tannehill hasn't had. We've replaced the offensive line. It hasn't worked for a year, so we've replaced it again. It hasn't worked for a year. We got Brandon Albert. He got injured. So the offensive line is always Miami's weakness, and they're starting to gel now. Putting Billy Turner back in at right guard really helped out, and it should theoretically help continue. There's talk that Dallas Thomas may move from left guard to right tackle, a position he played in college. So there's some options here, and there's some question marks around the offensive line. Going back to the injury part, the one that I forgot that I just remembered because I talked about the tackle move, Jawan James injured his toe, starting right tackle, second-year player. He's out and probably going to be out for up to 6 weeks. What we've heard is 4 to 6. He'll be out, so that's where Dallas Thomas could slide over to right tackle. You're probably looking at Jamil Douglas coming in at left guard if that happens. Douglas is one of the worst guards in the league. He's a rookie, so take that with a grain of salt, but he's one of the worst guards in the league right now statistically. So that may be a bigger issue than what we think right now. So there's concerns with the offensive line, clearly.
The Buffalo Bills were able to get some nice turnovers in the first game, and that's one of the reasons that led to the blowout. You know, they only had, I just want to double-check these figures, 277 yards passing, Carlos Williams broke a long run late to put them over 150 yards rushing. I think they ended up with 175 or something like that. But they didn't have a great offensive outburst. The defense is really what won that game. The offense was certainly efficient. What are the Dolphins going to try to do differently to attack this Buffalo Bills defense without giving up the turnovers like they did in the first game?
Probably establish the run. I think that's where they've got to go. I think they have to get the running game moving. I know that the Bills have that defense, that Rex Ryan designed defense, and they're going to try to stop the run and force this to be on Tannehill. I think that they have to get the running game started, at least provide a threat of the running game. I think against the Bills, nobody carried the ball more than 9 times, 10 times, somewhere around there.
That's right.
Say again?
That's right. Yeah, Jonas Gray had 9 carries for 49 yards. Lamar Miller had 7 for 38. And then Damian Williams had 2 for 17. And then it was just a couple of kneel downs or like one rushing attempt for a negative yards by Jarvis Landry and Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, I think that's probably that's probably indicative of Buffalo jumped out early and Miami was trailing the entire time. I think that you're going to see Lamar Miller get the ball more. Jonas Gray, if we go back to Jay Ajayi being in there, you're probably looking at Jonas Gray and Ajayi splitting time. If not, Gray will get the majority of the second set of carries. Damian Williams seems to be being phased out of the offense. Maybe that's the Ajayi factor starting to come in. He's fumbled a couple times, and it's made the coaches more gun-shy to give him the ball. While Jonas Gray is looking good, he's clearly not the 200-yard running back that the Patriots had one game, but he's decent. He's good. He can actually perform. I think you're going to see more of the quick, short passes from Ryan Tannehill, probably trying to open up something deeper, but get those quick slants, get the ball in Jarvis Landry's hand, get the ball in Rashard Matthews' hands, and let them try to make plays from there.
Yeah, those two combined for 23 catches 23 targets in the first game, but only 14 catches. But they did top they got 180 yards combined in catch-up mode. Let's switch sides of the ball real quick. Charles Clay had a nice game against his former team when the two teams played earlier.
I don't know who that is.
Charles Clay, you know him?
I don't know who he is.
Oh, okay.
Never heard of him.
5 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown in the earlier game to lead all of the receivers on the Bills at least. And then Percy Harvin, who we don't even know where he is right now. He was at the team facility on Monday, but we don't know if he's going to play. He had a nice big game with 7 catches for 66 yards. Let's focus back to the Bills tight end, who may or may not have played for the Dolphins before. What are the Dolphins going to do to try and counter Charles Clay? Were they able to stop Rob Gronkowski last week? I'm not saying that Clay is Gronkowski, but they play the same position and they can do some of the same things at least.
No, they definitely got eaten up by Gronkowski. I think that they will focus absolutely on Clay. I think that they will try to take him away, even if it's more of we want to take him away because we don't want him to hurt us as his former team, then it is a product of trying to game plan specifically because he is a weapon. I still think it's really weird him wearing 85, by the way. Weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, he wore 2 different numbers for the Dolphins, for the record.
42 down in Miami for a long time. But I have a 42 jersey. Freaking Charles Clay. But I think he'll be the focus of the defense. I say that knowing that there are other weapons absolutely on Miami's offensive side of the ball. Let's try Buffalo's side of the ball. You'll see what'll happen is we'll shut down Charles Clay and Chris Hogan will have a big game for some reason. Watch. Something weird will happen. But Charles Clay, my guess is they'll try to focus either theoretically Jamar Taylor, maybe even Rashad Jones on Clay specifically. I don't think that it'll be a linebacker. I think it'll be more of a cornerback or a safety. I don't know. I don't know how they'll answer that. It's a great question, and it's definitely something we'll have to watch this week.
and we definitely will be. We've been talking with Kevin Nogle from The Phinsider. That's SB Nation's Miami Dolphins blog. I mean, it's a cool name. It's a good blog. We just, don't like reading about the Dolphins because they're. But thank you for coming and chatting with us, Kevin. We really appreciate it. And if you guys want to follow them on Twitter, it's at The Phinsider. And then, of course, it's thephinsider.com. Thanks again, Kevin.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Bye, guys.